Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. and today I'm unboxing Stars of Akarios from Games. An unboxing and rambling, to be clear. That's what I usually do on this channel. First, though, coffee shot. We have our coffee, our knife, the usual. I want to switch back to my old knife. I don't quite love this one quite as much, but it's by default. Once it goes in my pocket, it kind of stays there for a bit. And this is Stars of Akarios from Games, Out of My Mind, and I believe OOMM, Out of My Mind Games. They're a publisher. They have a variety of titles under the belt, but I believe they've recently refocused, meaning they have a few older titles, but the ones they're currently focusing on are Stars of Akarios, Mythwind, which was recently on Kickstarter, and then Stone Saga, which is coming up next. I've played two of those. I've played Stars of Akarios and Mythwind, and you're like, Stars of Akarios, it's in shrink, Alex, and you're about to unbox it, and you're not wrong, but I did have someone stop by this past week to play it with me, which is very fortunate because I had Stars of Akarios show up and somebody stopped by and it's like, you want to play Stars of Akarios? And I was like, that would be very helpful because that saves me the time from reading the, well, it doesn't really save me the time from reading the book. I'm getting distracted. Let's put this off to the side. Let's go ahead and get my coffee settled, all the things. And actually, while we're at it, this over here, this art, this is technically from what's the name of the company? The name of the company, I'm blanking it. They did the Flamecraft, Mission Catastrophe. This is a coaster from Mission Catastrophe, but it actually has very Stone Saga vibes to the style of the situation of what's going on here. Don't know more about it. Stone Saga sounds like an interesting concept. I'll link to it down below. I did an interview with Brendan McCaskill with the team from Games, talking about Stone Saga and what's coming with it. But first, coffee. I mean it when I say unboxing, rambling, coffee shot. All those things are true. Let's put that off to the side and let's get into this. So, unboxing and rambling, if you're new to the channel, that basically just means that this is going to be an unboxing of the game with a little bit more information than usual because I've actually played the game. It helps when I played the game. It means I don't have to guess what's going on or try to vaguely remember what the Kickstarter page had. I played this game 3 times, 3 nights ago, so I have a decent idea of how to talk about it. I don't know where the game goes. But I guess consider this combination first impressions and an unboxing at the same time because it will be a bit about that. So my whole unrambling disclaimer, not unrambling, unboxing, my whole rambling disclaimer is less relevant now than it usually is because of the fact that this actually will be partially about the game. Stars of Akarios. Stars of Akarios. Now, this is not a game I actually backed. This is a game the publisher sent me. Let's talk about this in a second. We have our galactic map over here. Very, very pretty looking. I don't know what this has to do with anything yet. My knowledge of the game is limited to the things I encountered, and there's a whole bunch that I did not encounter. We have our tokens over here. Let's go ahead and open this up. So, I did not back this game. When this game was on Kickstarter, I was actually, I'm pretty sure I had just started doing Kickstarter videos. I just started doing videos in general a little bit earlier, and I just started doing Kickstarter videos about this time. I'm pretty sure I covered the campaign at one point, but this is way back when I was kind of only covering things people were asking me to cover. So I was like, oh yeah, to back or not to back will be the 5 games people asked me to cover this week. It was a whole different thing. Hadn't really developed a flow, a format, all those things. It was nice in a way because less format means you fall into less patterns and less rigid structure. Kind of why I love these unboxing and ramblings is, to me, they're a callback to just not having an official structure that I have to worry about. They're just me having fun and going wherever it goes. But anyways, I covered the campaign at the time, and I remember that, I don't remember exactly, I probably should have watched the video again to see where I ended up, but I remember being intrigued but not completely sold on it. Back then, I had done multiple videos on why I didn't really have that much of an interest in narrative games, and this definitely seemed to have a high degree of narrative. These, by the way, are the ships over here. These are going to be the enemy ships, the standees. There are miniatures as well. We're going to get to the Ships of Akarios over there. It's off to the side. We'll get to that later. Timestamps to all the relevant sections. But we have over here our character boards, because you have a character, you have the ships, you have the enemies. That's what we have over here. You see, I actually know this stuff. Over here, we have some of the grids. These are going to go on the space map. Over here, I got no clue what these are. We'll figure it out. They're probably the enemy things to mark which enemy it is. Maybe. I don't know. But over here, we have more various grids that will go into the spaceport. We have some objective tokens down here. And then we have more going there. So this is basically just all the various cardboard stuff you'll need in your game. And we'll put that into here later. For right now, it's just going to go on top of there because I need somewhere to put it. From there, let's pull out these shipboards. These are going to be your own individual shipboards that you're playing with. See, so what happened is, I had a viewer come down. He's visiting Cleveland. He reached out to me and said, hey, do you want to play some games while I'm here? And my general answer to that is, if the schedule allows for it, I will make it happen. I don't, and when I say that, just to be very clear, there's a decent chance the schedule does not allow for it. Give me a second. For context, I book out my evenings very extensively. My evenings are always booked out completely, except for one night. And even that one night, technically, I have stuff. So in any given week, I have no nights available. I do have during the day available, but often people are not available during the day. So it's more likely that I'm available during the day, and it's possible I'm available at night with specific caveats and times and all those things. Point is, if you're down in Cleveland and you want to play a game, shoot me an email, alex@boardgameco.com. If I can make it work, I'll make it work. If I can't, well, then I obviously won't. So we have these boards over here. He came over. Well, we'll come back to him in a second. But these are the boards. You're going to store your weapons here, your engines here, the various techs abilities you have over here as you unlock them, your ship ability, your pilot ability. You're going to store your ship here, your pilot here, your little miniature for your hero over here, your pilot. You're going to be tracking your three things over here. You have your hull, your shield, which recharges, and then your stress. These are going to be the three metrics you're charging. Stress is going to have to do a lot with dice, and we'll be adding miss cards to your deck, because a big part of this we haven't talked about is at any given point when you're playing Stars of Akarios, if you're unsure what to do next, just ask yourself, what would Gloomhaven do? And that's usually the answer. They'll make more sense shortly. Over here we have the various dice allocation that you have. This is not entirely Gloomhaven, it just has a lot of Gloomhaven adjacencies. But over here you're going to be rolling dice every single turn and allocating those dice to a variety of cards you have, as well as to the general basic actions you have, allocating them to move, to adjust, to shoot, to attack, all those basic things. And then there's the concept of charges as well. The charges that you're going to be tracking over here and lowering them as you use them. And there's opportunities to recharge, to improve your hull, to regenerate your shield, things like that. These are the player boards. That's what's going on over here. Which brings us to this part over here. What do we have over here? We have this over here. Let's go ahead and see what we have here. Let's put the player boards off to the side. This is going to be, actually we can put the player boards where they're supposed to be, which is directly on top of here and nestled nicely into there. And then we pull this off over here and put this off to the side on top of the box. We have a lot of cards here. A lot of cards. This is beautiful, by the way. The way this is like arriving, like the fact that this comes like this, just very nicely all laid out beautifully. I mean, we have to definitely do all the whole unpacking and unshrinking and all that stuff, but I mean, it's very nicely done. Let's go and take a look at the modifier deck, because this will make a lot of sense to a lot of you. This is a modifier deck over here, and it's a modifier deck that has a little bit to do with Gloomhaven. Like I said already, a lot of things in Stars of Akarios come down to what would Gloomhaven do, and that's going to be true here. Now, I don't mean that as a negative. I really don't. We're going to talk about that more, but over here, this looks like the upgraded modifier deck. So these are all upgrade cards that go into your modifier deck and will modify, well, your modifier deck. If we go ahead and grab these, this might be a more basic modifier situation. Let's go and take a look. If we can go ahead and get this off. But general idea is in Stars of Akarios, whenever you attack, whenever the enemies attack, you're going to draw a modifier card to modify that attack. The modifications you can have is a 2x modifier, a complete miss, and then various forms of -1 and +1 and +2 and -2. And over here, let's see if we can grab some of these here. Look at that, a +1 over here, a +2. We have a heal your hull, gain an energy, I guess. I think it's probably an energy over there. Move your ship. So you have all these different things that happen. These look like the more whatever. I don't know. Modifiers might be in the box. We'll see the basic ones. But your standard basic deck is a whole bunch of ×2, pluses, minuses, and the kind of thing you expect in Gloomhaven. This is going to be when you attack the enemy and when the enemy attacks you. I still don't mind that. I don't mind the fact that this game is a very easy game to try to figure out how you function if you've played Gloomhaven, while feeling very different than Gloomhaven. So it does both. It gives you a core that is different and a lot of externalities that's kind of like, hey, you know how this works. Let's go ahead and use that as a reference point. I think innovation has its place, don't get me wrong, but I think innovation has its place where the big things matter. For example, you want innovation when it comes to your phone. You don't want innovation when it comes to your charger. You want that to be consistent so you don't have to deal with all the mental energy. That's the way I kind of view Stars of Akarios so far. There's innovation around the phone, which is the game itself, and there's a less innovation around the charger, which is the maintenance. Now, you might have a personal level of how close it feels to Gloomhaven or not. For me, from the 3 games I've played so far, it doesn't feel like Gloomhaven at the high level, it feels like Gloomhaven at the maintenance level. Then we have also, by the way, a bit of a 7th continent kind of vibe going on here as well. You can see this over here as you have these cards pointing. This is card 9. So you can see you have cards that will be pointing to one another, trying to create a bit of a flow. That's going to be card 7. Where does 7 go? 7's going to be not pointed here at all. 7's going to be up there, which means this goes over here like so, like this kind of, maybe. I don't know. I think I'm doing it wrong. But either way, you're going to have your cards over here. Let's not spoil them too much, but just riffle through them very quickly. These are going to be a little map of, 7th continent style exploration going on with your pilot. So you have a little bit of 7th continent exploration, which I haven't done yet, by the way, for context. I have not done any of that. I'm not going to go through these cards too much to just not spoil things for you. But I have not done any of the exploration 7th continent. I've so far only done the basic scenarios. And then part of it is you have like these enemy cards. Let's go ahead and show you an enemy card of how that works and plays. So far, by the way, I kind of skipped this part, but so far I'm enjoying it. I'm very much enjoying Stars of Akarios so far from the 3 plays I have of it. I have concerns as to how well it holds up 20 plays in, primarily around how the development goes, because 3 plays in, I'm already feeling a bit repetitive. I don't have that cycle of growth that I have in Gloomhaven, at least not yet. There is growth, but I need to see all that. But anyways, let's go ahead and take a look at these cards. So the way enemies work is enemies are going to play their card, which will define how they act. So this enemy is going to try to shoot, then move. That's the pattern here. If it's going to shoot using this pattern here, then it's going to move using that pattern. And enemies have all the different little structures. This enemy over here will turn to face whoever needs to turn. It's going to turn in order to shoot. If it can shoot and hit with that pattern, it will shoot. And if it can't, it will move, then turn, then shoot. And if it does shoot, it will just move. So it has interesting little AI programming things. For the most part, I like it. It's quick, it's clean, it's easy. It's a little bit more fiddly when you have to start making decisions. Like, how would I turn to optimally get to the spot I want? It can get a little fiddly at times, but overall, I'm very happy with it. We also have our pilot ability cards over here, which are, I'm not going to go into these, those don't look that interesting. We have our co-pilots over here, basically the abilities that go into the boards I showed you earlier. We have a whole bunch of these cards in this tray that will all go nicely. Let's go ahead and show you. So we have our tray over here. These cards will often go into your tech abilities, your pilots, your ships, all of that stuff, in order to give you everything you need there. And now this will go off to the side so we can continue taking a look at the rest of the box, because we still have a lot left. So we have our little sheets over here. Now again, this is what would Gloomhaven do. We have our little sheets. We have our name. You have your squad. You have your notes. Your various things. You're slowly upgrading on various tracks. These will often add a lot of modifier cards to your decks. They'll also modify ships abilities and things like that. Again, it's a basic progression system. Nothing crazy. Let's move these off to the side and see our little pilot trays, because the pilot trays are a fun little system over here that stores all your stuff very nicely. These are your pilot trays. They work beautifully. Let's come take a look. Let's move this off. Let's move our knife out of the way. How are we doing on time? We're doing well on time. I have to head off to go play Gloomhaven. Speaking of Gloomhaven, I have to go head off to play Gloomhaven in around 25 minutes, so I just need to make sure to be mindful of that as I go. Now, each of these containers is going to hold 2 things. It's going to hold your ship and your pilot and your modifier deck, and then any cards you have along the way. So, for example, let's go ahead and show you a ship situation over here. We'll have our ship plugged in over here, and push that a little bit in. Now you will want to grab a Sharpie to do something here. I'll show you in a second. But this is our little ship, and you have your ship and pilot combination. And our ship, if we go ahead and show you over here, let's make sure it focuses. We have our ship. This is a little miniature. It's solid. I'm not like, losing sleep over how amazing it is, but also it's not bad either. Now, if you can see over here, there's little modifiers showing which way they point. Now, that's more and less helpful depending on the ship you utilize. In this case, it's not that big a deal because the ship obviously points in that direction. But if you grab a little silver Sharpie and just make a little mark on that so that you can see exactly where it's going, that'll make your life a whole lot easier. This is going to go in here. You want to take it off and do that. Let's show you the pilot. Pilot's going to be over here. This is a little pirate over here. Just very, very long, spindly little tail situation. Little semi-human kind of situation. And then let's grab our handy-dandy faithful knife to try to open this over here so you can show you what a basic modifier deck looks like before you upgrade it. This is where you're going to say, okay, fine, Alex, it's kind of like Gloomhaven, but it's really not. It's also not at the same time. So we have a little modifier deck over here where you have your zeros, you have your +1s, you have your +1, +2, -1, -1. We have a -2, a ×2, and a miss. If that's not a basic standard starting modifier deck for Gloomhaven, I don't know what is. We're going to grab our little tokens over here. We're going to open this, or we're going to try to open it, but then also look like we can't open it, which we successfully did. And we'll go ahead and dump these into the tray. I think those go in here, if I recall correctly. I'm pretty sure you have these in there. If not, I'll figure out later, but I vaguely recall. Again, only played this once. Well, that's not true. I played it 3 times, but 3 times in one sitting the other night. And that's going to be our little pilot deck situation over here. This will be where you store everything in a little tray as you upgrade, as you add, as you modify and adjust, making it very easy to track everything. And then we have a whole bunch more of sheets. These I don't know what they are because I haven't gotten everything in the game yet. There's a lot of stuff I have not done yet. There's just a handful of stuff that I have done. And then a whole bunch of ships here. Ooh, this fun little stuff. Let's go ahead and see what we have. So we have these over here. We have more decks, more cards over here. I'm not going to heavily go into the miniatures and things over here because honestly, they're not that interesting. I will go through the full miniature set over there. And then let's keep stacking these up, going through the various cards, the tokens, all that stuff, which will go in there. And then we have our little, our Sparrow situation over here. The Sparrow is going to be kind of a central hub ship that flies through space with us. I don't even know what these cards are. Don't know. I'll have to look at them. They're trauma cards. I don't know what's stored in this board over here, but I do know you're going to be tracking various elements of the Sparrow as you go through it. And the Sparrow will have different consequences and different effects depending on the mission at play. There's going to be times where it helps you heal. There's going to be times where it helps you defense. There's going to be times where it's moving across the galaxy to the other side, doing all the things it needs to do. And here, is the Sparrow. Let me go ahead and get this up and running, and then I'll show it to you on the top camera. This is the Sparrow over here. So you can see, look, it's a pretty decent sized ship. This one's nicer. I like it. Probably looks even nicer painted. I say probably, knowing full well it does, because I've seen this painted by the guy who brought his Stars of Akarios over. So we have this over here. This is your larger Sparrow, your mothership, as it were, flying through space with you. You know what I realized? I have a full thing of coffee over here that I've not been taking advantage of, so bear with me. Cool. Anyways, moving back to that. So, we have our Sparrow. We're going to put that back over here. Trying to figure out if I can do it correctly. I think I got it. Nope, I need to put it like that. And then like that. I got it. It's in the box. Then we have our little enemy boards. These are going to be the enemy sheets that stack. This is going to be salt. I don't need salt. These are going to be the enemy boards. The enemy boards are going to be the little sheets that track your enemies. You're going to slot a card into the enemy board. You're going to track its hull and its shield. You're going to track any modifier effects. You'll have the enemy card here. And then you can just stack out a whole bunch of them to track the various enemies that are on the table. Yes, I have had 6 enemies on the table. And no, it's not fun. That's when we lost. We won the first 2 scenarios and lost the 3rd one. Over here we have... Ooh, I like this. I don't even know what this is. See, again, this is where I have not played the whole game. I haven't even read the rulebook. And going back to what I was saying earlier, I'm still going to have to read the rulebook because there's parts of the game I haven't played. And I've found in general that the few times I have reviewed a game relying on the fact that I was taught by somebody else and not reading the rules, it comes back to bite me. I don't want to say every time, but it comes back to bite me. There'll be like one thing where somebody will be like, what with this? You're not supposed to do that. And I'll be like, I was taught wrong. And I feel bad. Because I played the game like 7 times, taught wrong, but it is what it is, and it's too late now, and so I feel bad. So in general, I try reading rules is what my point is. But also, in this case, I don't know all the rules of the game. I know the sections and the rules that we played. I still have to read the rules, but it's a lot easier to read a rule book if you've played the game 3 times than if you haven't. So still a huge help. This looks like a bit of like a star map. Some sort of kind of similar situation of exploration, but not on land, but in actually space. I'm not going to heavily focus on these to avoid spoilers. We have a whole bunch of those. Then we have our various player aids as well, covering all the stuff, the various status effects you need. It doesn't say what the status effects do here. That's going to be on page 22 of the rulebook, which it is helpful to reference that. So not bad, all things considered, as far as giving us all that information. And by the way, this is game trays, in case you're wondering. I wasn't. I just assumed it was, but I just saw it say game trays, and so now I know it is, which changes the conversation entirely. Now we have the rulebook in the board, wrapped in shrink, which is an interesting way to put it. I usually don't see it like that, but I mean, listen, functionally it works. Let's go ahead and open this up, going through this and tossing that off to the side. And then we have our rulebook, which is usually in my unboxings one of the first things I look at, but I guess we'll do it late this time because it was in the bottom wrapped in shrink. Rulebook is going to be a total of 38 pages long, which is a lot, especially when you consider how much text there is over there. But let's see what we can get a bit more information from. We have player setup, we have space combat. So page 8 is where actual stuff seems to start. And again, I can tell you from having been taught the game, not that complicated. It just might be that there's a lot of different sections going on. There's going to be space combat, space exploration, ground combat. There's going to be a degree of story and how you navigate and make choices. Oh, we didn't even talk about the choices. We have the Stars of Akarios map. Then over here, so from 8 to 38 is roughly where you're looking over here. I have downloaded the app. I haven't felt the need to use it, at least not yet. We have our board, our map over here, which has 2 sides to it. And I prefer the boring side, which is unfortunate. We have our thematic visual side, or we have our boring side. And I prefer the boring side because once you start putting tokens on the map, then you have these planets that matter, and then you have the planets that don't. And I find that personally a drop confusing. So far, with my limited plays of the game, I prefer it that way. Let's go ahead and see what we have over here. Over here, we'll talk about story. By the way, I apologize for those looking for an unboxing and rambling. This is way too much about the game than normal. That's because I actually just played it 3 days ago, so apologies if you want the rambling. If you want the rambling, let's talk about Stone Saga and Mythwind. We can do that, okay? We can talk about those a bit if I can actually get a knife edge in here without damaging this book. So Mythwind. The nice thing about liking Stars of Akarios, and I like Stars of Akarios, I'll have a review at some point when I've played it enough to review it. I have nowhere near there yet so far. But the nice thing about liking Stars of Akarios is Mythwind was not a game for me. I played Mythwind, I covered it for their Kickstarter. It was not for me at all. Like, I like the premise and the intrigue of it. It's a game. Mythwind is a game of playing the game so that you can keep playing the game, so that you can keep playing the game. There's no winning or losing, you're just doing so that you can build, and the problem is the parts and things you're building weren't satisfying enough for that to be an interesting puzzle for me. So I put out my coverage of the game, saying, hey, it might be a game for you. Absolutely not a game for me in terms of what it's doing. But it's not even necessarily a bad game, it's just what it's doing I'm not the target audience for. The nice part about liking Stars of Akarios is I don't love hating on games. I don't. And when I don't like a game, when a game is not for me, I always feel bad about it. And so I do like the fact that I like their next game, at least so far. Now, Stone Saga sounds very compelling, but also ambitious. Ambitious could go either way. I was worried the Stars of Akarios was ambitious enough that, especially after Mythwind, I was like, is it going to deliver? I mean, especially because they did lean into the Gloomhaven thing. They called it. I think the ads were like Gloomhaven in space. And so they're leaning into it. But maybe it's just a gimmick. Maybe it's not a good game. So far, it's a good game. How good, we'll talk about later, but so far I'm enjoying it. Anyway, Stars of Akarios. This is a very heavy narrative-driven game. It's a narrative-driven game in the sense that you're going to have this giant book, you're going to have various situations, and you're going to make choices as far as how your path progresses. Do you help the civilians escape? Do you turn and fight the invaders? Or do you flee to fight another day? You have all these branching pathways you have in the game. You have these sections of text left, right, and center. You have an app that will guide you through all this. I mean, this book over here, this book is 189 pages of content, of scenario setup, of stuff that you have. This is a very impressive and ambitious book. And now we have the spaceships. And this is before we even get to all the other stuff. We have our dice. Let's show you some dice. The dice are not bad. And then we'll show you the miniatures, and I think that's where we are in this one. We don't have much more. We have our dice over here. So these are going to be the dice you're rolling. The general way it works is you have, your 4 dice per character in general, at least starting off. You're going to roll your dice. You can take stress to re-roll, and then you're going to assign these dice to your various actions. Again, if we pull this off to the side, then we can go ahead and grab. You can see over here, you can assign these dice saying, hey, you know what, we're going to take a double shoot action over here. We're also going to go ahead and take a turn action, and we're going to take a move action to pivot our ship, and those will be our actions for the round. You also have stress, which if you use a stress die will cost you a stress, which is not a good thing because that will add missed cards to your deck, but it is wild, which gives you some flexibility, so that's helpful in that sense. That's the dice system of Stars of Akarios. You're using dice as your primary motivator as opposed to cards, like I said already. This is Gloomhaven adjacent, it's not Gloomhaven, and that's basically that. I find myself wanting the coffee more and more as we get closer. So, miniatures time. Let's go and take a look at some miniatures. This guy I like. I don't know what he is. Haven't played with him yet, but I do like him. This guy's over here. Look at that. That is a solid miniature with a nice little battle axe hammer situation. Not really an axe, more of a hammer. But we'll go ahead and put that guy back. We'll see what other ships we have. These guys are not bad. I like them. I like all these things. These are just nice little ships and stuff. So we have over here, this is one of the ships I'm looking at. We also have a full separate ship pack that will cover everything else. We'll go ahead and take a look at that in a second. We'll put these back. And this is very classic game trays. The way they have them set up in the divots here is that almost anything can go almost anywhere, giving you a lot more flexibility and a lot less worry about exactly how you're going to make things fit in your situation. We have this little guy over here. Then we have this little guy over here. It's a little twin brother or something like that. I don't know if they're twins. I don't even know if they're the same species. But whatever it is, they work. Let's go ahead and put those guys back as well. Let's grab a few more ships before we go to the game tray situation, before we go to the ship pack over there. We got these. I don't know, how does it even store? Where does, oh, there it goes. So this is going to store like this. This is not bad. So the way this works over here is this is the upright angle of it. So it's kind of floating through space like that. But you can see over here the rings, the situation. And then we have this guy over here as well. Another little ship just doing its own little ship thing through space. And those are the ships we have in the core box. But we are not done yet, especially if we drop those. We're not done yet because now it's time to put everything back. I may have not planned this well. How did everything go? Let's hope we can figure this out. So, Stone Saga. Stone Saga, I don't remember the exact details of Stone Saga, but I remember it sounded very compelling. Honestly, I'll probably watch my own interview to remember it. I just remember that I thought it was intriguing as a concept, ambitious as a concept, to be fair, to be sure, not to be fair, but also intriguing. Ambitious and intriguing are not necessarily contradictory things. I think out of my mind games, I think they're going for a very specific genre of the type of things they are doing, and I'm very intrigued to how well it plays out. Stars of Akarios I like, Mythwind not so much, and I am curious, although Mythwind also, I am curious how the final game goes with Mythwind. A caveat worth mentioning is, it's still in the prototype phase, and the concept of what they're doing wasn't my issue. The concept was fine. My issue was I didn't find the building, the things we were building, I didn't find those compelling or satisfying, so I was left with an intriguing premise that to me didn't really pay off. I don't know how this goes back in the box. We're just going to hope for the best over here. We're going to hope we can kind of remember most of it, because I think I could kind of remember most of it, but that's kind of the big if is the kind of, like, can I actually remember most of it, or is it just in my head? In my head, gonna be okay. Spin that. I don't know why that's in my head now. That's not in my head in the slightest. Let's go ahead and put this back over here. We have this giant thing popping in here. This is not going to close properly because we still have the punch boards outside the box, but I expect that. That is fine. I don't need to close properly. I just needed to, like, vaguely pretend that closing is a concept that is somewhat familiar to how it used to operate. Like that, kind of. Like, this is good enough, honestly. It's just going to go down further, but it's good enough. It's good enough. Let's go ahead and put this down. Slow push. It will not go all the way down. Again, it didn't start off that way because you have all those giant hordes of tokens, which I'm not going to punch right now. We also have this, which I'm going to keep just in case I need it. And now it's time to jump into the ship pack. that's where we are right now. So let's go ahead and take the knife to this, close that out, pull the knife away from you, and see what's going on. So the next question for me is when I play this next, because I don't know if I dive into the solo with somebody else. If I do it with somebody else, who do I do it with? Because I've been doing a lot more solo campaign stuff because I can now, but that doesn't mean other people have more time for me, and other people want to play other games too, so we'll have to see exactly when and how I play it. I think there's a decent chance I dive into it solo. Look at this. Look at this pretty stuff. These are all the miniatures you have for all the various aliens. Let's take a look. We won't go through everything. It looks like there is a lot of repetition, which means less miniatures for you to see. But let's go through what we can over here, showing you anything from this starter giant whale. Like, I'm getting strong Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy whale vibes from this beast over here. This Leviathan, I don't know if you remember the whale from Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, but he lived a very short existence, but it was a very poignant existence. Poignant, right? I'm probably saying that word horribly wrong. It's one of those words that you don't say a lot in real life. You just kind of read them because it's very poignant in books. I probably should cut and edit this out. Anyways, going back to these ships over here. So we have these ships over here. And there's going to be a tray of like 4 or 5 ships over here. Not a lot of variety as far as these over here, what they've got. But these are some of these ships you'll have, the enemy ships you're encountering in combat. Because they have a lot of these ships you'll have. But the enemy ships are kind of relying on standees unless you got the ship patch, which I have. So we'll go through all this. These are nice. Again, most of these I find to be nice without being like, oh my gosh, they're absolutely amazing. But I am happy to have them, and I do enjoy them. That's in general the miniatures. Some of the miniatures actually are more impressive. Don't care about that one. Honestly, like these ones don't even seem that impressive. They're the enemies. They're the kind of grunts, but they're okay. They do the job. Anyways, we have this one over here. Again, just little hunks of plastic, some of them being cooler than others. Now over here, if we shift our focus down over here, I do think we have more plastic, we have more tokens. I'll clean up the plastic later. We have the various mothership. This is like a giant Citadel piece of plastic. It's nice. Again, the level of detail is not excellent. One of my favorite things so far is the giant guy with the giant hammer. I liked him a lot. Some of these other things, they're fine. They're totally fine. I think they're good to have, but also they're not blowing my mind. They're not. This looks like a little walking situation. Don't know what it is, but we got a little walker over here. Little funny guy. Just walking along. Just like that. Nope. He's gonna fall over. There we go. Just like that. That's what he's doing over there. Then we have some of these guys. Now this one I do like. I do like this. It's got a nice little vibe to it as far as how it functions. Very strong Mass Effect vibes to this one. If you ever played Mass Effect, one of the best games of all time. It's one of those games that I constantly want to go back to, with the realization and the acknowledgement that most games that I want to go back to, I don't have the time for, and if I did go back to them, I'd probably be sad. But Mass Effect was awesome. We got some more Mass Effect vibes from this one over here. Like very strong Citadel vibes almost. You know the Citadel, Mass Effect? That's a lot of choose your own adventure, a lot of narrative choice. I would play a Mass Effect board game, honestly. I would play it. We have this giant one which we're saving for last because I think it's the coolest. We have this one which is going to be this way over here. This guy over here, it's a little strong, little mini over there. I think these are good to have. Like, I mean, I wouldn't want to play with the, I shouldn't say I wouldn't want to, I already did. I would prefer to play with these miniatures over playing with the standees, as opposed to the enemies for sure. Like, absolutely, no question. Now, these are not bad over here. So we have this guy over here with his little, like, situation here, a little falconish adjacent thingamajig. Then we got this guy who I very strongly like. This is like some sort of more mothership, and it's not upside down, by the way. The hole is over there, which means this is the right side up as it flies through space, looking a little upside down. Like, it almost looks like it should be this way. Like, that looks more right, doesn't it? But the hole's down there, which means it's going to be like this. So it is what it is. That's just, you know, their decision. I'm just here to play the game. We're going to put that back here. We're going to put this back here. And then we're going to grab this big guy who does look kind of cool. Holes down over here. Let's go ahead and show you the big guy. This is the big guy over here. It's got little, again, it's got Mass Effect vibes. Didn't the Reapers have like ships like this? Like with those like prongs outside? It's been a while since I played Mass Effect, but tell me if the Reaper ships look like this, or I'll look it up myself, because I could do that. By the time this video goes live, I could have checked it out myself. The Reapers were something else. The Reapers were like taking over the galaxy. I don't remember much about Mass Effect. I just remember the Reapers and the galaxy and Garrus. Garrus or Garrett? It's been a while. It has been a while. But that's it. That's what we have over here. This has been your unboxing and semi-rambling of Stars of Akarios. A little bit more on brand and on point than usual, because I actually played this game 3 days ago, and so I know what I'm talking about. Kind of disappointing, honestly, but I will take it. There's still stuff. And if you missed it, by the way, I also did an unboxing of Endless Winter that went up last week. I did an Instagram post asking people to choose which one should be unboxed first. Endless Winter won, so we got that one first, but Stars of Akarios still has to be unboxed. In fact, by the time you watch this, there's a decent chance that I've actually played it a few more times. So, maybe. I don't know. But that's basically it. Just as far as first impressions, because I kind of said I would do that, and I talked about it throughout the video, but in case you want it more, first impressions of Stars of Akarios is very positive. I like the game so far. I enjoy the dice allocation system and the tactical planning and maneuvering through space and the activation of various abilities, and all of that while you try to be mindful of enemies, taking them down before they hurt you, trying to be mindful of the space situation. I think it lacks some elements comparative to Gloomhaven, at least based on the 3 scenarios I played so far. My biggest concern is that I don't find the dice combat to be as rewarding as the card system Gloomhaven has, and more importantly, so far in my 3 games, and again, it's only 3 games, I have yet to have those large epic moments where you play fun things. Gloomhaven has cards that eventually, as you go through the game, you start burning the cards for the more powerful effect because you can do that late game. Stars of Akarios kind of is a little bit more flatline in the scenarios I played so far. You don't have this moment of starting to finally unleash your power as you charge towards the end. You have more of an even tempo as you go. And I find that a little bit less satisfying. So overall, I strongly enjoyed this game. Strongly enjoyed it. If you asked me what the rating was today, I'd say likely a 4. But it started drifting towards a 4.5. It started that way. My first plays of it was like, wow, this could be really good. And then I started to realize it didn't have those highs, and it went from like a tentative 4.5 to a tentative 4. Now it absolutely could go up. It also could go down. This is 3 plays into a longer game where I've only explored some aspects of the game. But I very much did enjoy what I saw so far. The question I have is, do I play it for 10 hours and say, hey, you know what, it's good, but I'd rather just play Gloomhaven? Or do I play it for 50 hours because what it does very well, and there's more elements that I haven't fully seen yet, and more elements that I buy into fully the more I play it. But that, time will tell for. In any case, and until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Appreciate you being here, and as always, have a good one.